All right, let's go down a little bit of a logic rabbit hole here, which is always kind of fun. Um, and what I say here might not make a whole lot of sense the first time you watch this, but by the 400th time you watch it, I promise it'll make a little bit more sense. Or maybe not. Maybe you can point out where my thinking is off here. Um, so for this thought experiment, I want you to begin by considering what it means to say that something is true. What does it mean to say that something is true? And I think that's a question you should keep thinking about even after this video is over. But for our thought experiment, let's do this. Let's say this, that when we say that something is true, we're saying that we've made a judgment about something. And in particular, what we're doing is we're saying somebody has had an experience that they have processed into a thought, and then this thought comes to us as a proposition, as a sentence that's either true or false. And when we judge a proposition to be true, what we're really saying is, I think that this statement about reality is in alignment with the way that things actually are. I think we might say it this way, that statement corresponds to the way that things are. And when it corresponds to the way that the reality is structured at a given time, we say that's a true statement. Okay? So that's what we mean by true. We're saying, I think this thing, this statement that has been made that expresses a thought about the way that things are aligns with the way it corresponds with the ways that things actually are. All right, so now I want you to think about this idea of true and false as it might apply to heartbeats, right? So right now your heart is beating. Is that heartbeat? You can put your hand on your chest and you'll see, what the hell's my heartbeat? Yeah, I can feel it. That's my heartbeat. My heart's beating. Is that beat true or false? Or do those terms not seem to apply to a heartbeat? And keep in mind, I'm not asking you about statements about your heartbeat. Like somebody might make a statement like, that's a strong or a weak heartbeat. And then we can say, oh, yeah, it is a heartbeat. That's true by some criteria. Or we might measure your heartbeat. We might say like, your heart is beating at so many beats per minute. Because you're doing philosophy, your heart is probably beating really fast right now because you're really excited to be doing this. But you might say like, oh, my heart is beating at 135 beats a minute. True or false? That makes sense. But I'm asking you about the heartbeat itself. Is that true or false? Like a fingernail. Is a fingernail true or false? I know statements about fingernails can be true or false, but what about the fingernail itself? And I'm going to suggest to you that those terms don't seem to apply. They seem funny to me to say like, oh, well, that would be a statement. I hold up my finger to you and I say, is this finger true or false? And you say, it does make sense. Make a statement about the finger and then I'll judge it. But the finger itself seems neither true nor false. It doesn't apply. It's just a physical thing that exists. Just like your heartbeat is a physical thing that exists. Your heartbeat is the byproduct of your physical heart moving. Okay? So now, remember what the physicalists said. Physicalists are saying, you don't have a mind. You have a brain. And so when you talk about this thing called mental states, what you're really talking about are brain states. Okay, we'll let you use your sort of lazy layman's language, and you can talk about, the outrage that you're feeling or the desire that you're feeling. But really, those are just shortcuts for referencing certain brain states, certain neurochemical activity that seems to be occurring as an event at a given moment. So I would pose to you, well, does that mean that when my mind, or when I'm having an experience of a thought, am I really just having an experience of a brain state? Just like I'm having an experience of a heartbeat. So then it raises this question for us. If that's the case, so if my mental processes are determined wholly by the motions of atoms in my brain, and my beliefs are the result of mental processes, do I have any reason to suppose that my beliefs are quote-unquote true, right? So my heart is beating the way that it is totally because of the motions of all of the atoms in my heart and my body, right? In other words, there's all kinds of physical things going on that cause a new set of physical events to occur, moment to moment to moment to moment. And this is what's happening with my heartbeat. Is that the same thing that's happening when I have thoughts in my brain? Is this just my brain producing what it has to produce, given the motion of atoms in my brain at the moment it produces the thoughts that turn into beliefs? Because if I have no reason for supposing that my beliefs are true, just like my heartbeat isn't true, then it doesn't seem that I would have any real reason to stand on to believe that my brain is made of atoms. Because that would also have to be a statement that's either true or false. But if the thoughts that I'm having are just thoughts that are occurring because of the way that my brain happens to be functioning at a given moment, just like my heart, then doesn't seem to be appropriate to label those thoughts as either true or false. They're just occurring, just like the heartbeat is occurring. And so if I have a thought like, physicalism is true, that's just a thought that is caused by my brain being in a particular state at a given moment. And it wouldn't seem appropriate to judge that statement as true or false any more than it would to judge my heartbeat as true or false. So think about that, and think about if that really is sort of a fatal flaw at the heart of physicalism, that if it were true, it would sort of be a self-contradiction. So weigh in on that and see if you think this puts physicalism closer to its grave.